Hello there, my beautiful people, you fabulous ones. Welcome back to my channel, and for today's video, we're going to talk about a topic that's a bit painful, but we need to face it. Just kidding. So dramatic. This is about Pinoy bands that seem to have lost their spark, those bands that you used to hear almost every day on the radio in Jeeps at your off-key neighbor's karaoke, but now it's like, what happened? Where are they? But wait, my friends, before you react and say, how dare you, Vice, they're not fading. Calm down. Fading or losing popularity doesn't mean they're worthless. It's like your ex, you're not popular in each other's lives anymore, but you still have a shared past. Those memories still have value, like that. So, our list today isn't to judge them, okay? This isn't a top 50 fading bands. Just kidding. This list is for bands that for some reason aren't as active or as loud in the mainstream as they used to be. Many of them, to be fair, still have solid and loyal fan bases that support them to this day. The kind of fans who will follow them no matter where they play. Some are still making new music, exploring different sounds, or maybe they just leveled up and focused on family or other businesses. You don't have to be in the spotlight forever, right? Sometimes a quiet life is better, one where you're not the talk of the town. So, join me on a nostalgic trip down memory lane. Let's revisit the songs that became the theme songs of our youth, our first heartbreaks, and times when everything was simple. These are the bands that shaped the sound of original Filipino music, and even if they're not topping the charts today, their legacy will remain. Remember, true music never fades, it just changes the generation that listens. So get your hearts and tissues ready, because you might remember things you shouldn't. Let's start the amazing list. Popular in the 90s but not active anymore. Iconic OPM band, rarely in the mainstream now. The Beatles of the Philippines, disbanded a long time ago. You know, True Faith became super famous for their love songs, but you rarely hear them now. The Dawn is truly one of the pioneers of Pinoy rock, but you rarely hear them on the radio now. Moonstar 88 really became famous for the song Tourette, but they're not as visible as they used to be. Kweshe, they really became famous for their emotional songs, but you rarely hear them now. Soap Dish, known for their song Pwede Ba, but they're not active anymore. Itchy Worms, famous for Akin Kanilang, but they're not really trending much now. Famous for Biglaang, rarely in the mainstream now. Famous for Magbalik, not as famous now. Famous for Superhero, not heard often anymore. You know, Brownman Revival is really known for their reggae covers, but you rarely see them on the charts. Well, Kamikaze, they became famous because of Narda, but, well, they've disbanded too. And of course, Silent Sanctuary, they became famous for the song Kundaman, but they're not as visible now. Sugar Free, famous for Hariang Sablay, but, well, they've disbanded too. Mayonnaise, famous for Joe Pay, but not always trending now. Sponge Cola, famous for Jeepney, and they're also rarely in the mainstream now. Sandwich, they really became famous because of the song Sugod, but they're not as famous now. Hail Wow, they became famous for The Day You Said Goodnight. Chikoshi, they also became famous for Paris, but they're not as visible now. Famous in the emo scene, rarely in the mainstream. Famous for Deliri, not active anymore. Heavy metal legends, rarely in the mainstream now. Slapshock, famous for nu metal, not as famous now. Greyhounds, famous for rap metal, rarely on the charts. Capatid, famous for alternative rock, not visible anymore. Imago, famous for Akap, but they're rarely in the mainstream now. Pupil, famous for disconnection notice, but they're not active anymore. Dicta License, famous for their socially relevant songs, but they're rarely heard now. Stone Free, famous for Listen, but, not as famous now. Bamboo, famous for Hallelujah, but they've disbanded. Sky Church, famous in the metal scene, very rarely in the mainstream. Famous for Novella, but not active anymore. Famous for Suntok sa Buwan, rarely heard now. Famous for Alapin, not as visible now. Juan de la Cruz Band, OPM legends, but they've been inactive for a long time. Yano, famous for Banal na Eso, but you rarely see them now. Dongabay and the Tanads, famous in the alternative scene, but they're not active anymore. Famous for Tabing Elog and disbanded a long time ago. Famous in the ska scene, but rarely in the mainstream. Famous for novelty songs, but not popular anymore. Paralumen, famous for Tabi, but not active anymore. The Youth, famous for Multo sa Paningin, rarely heard now. Intravoice, famous for Line to Heaven, not visible. Razorback, they became famous in the rock scene, but you rarely see them in the mainstream, The Teeth, they really became famous for the song Lack Lack, but the band has been disbanded for a long time, what a shame. Famous for a cappella, but not active anymore. Famous for Pinoy Ako, but they've disbanded. Famous for Lakas Tama, not popular anymore. There you have it, my fabulous ones. What a ride. It's tear-jerking, isn't it? It feels like just yesterday. Those were the songs we were shouting in our rooms, singing with a guitar, even if we only knew 3 chords. And they became the soundtrack of our high school dances and college parties. Music, like life, is always changing. New sounds come, new artists become famous, and new generations have their own vibe. But what's important is that these bands we mentioned, and many others not on the list, left an amazing mark on the history of OPM. They proved that Filipino music has something to offer, has heart, and has soul. So my challenge to you today, my beautiful people, is this. Revisit them. Open Spotify, YouTube, or even your old chest of CDs and cassette tapes. Listen to the songs again. Share them with your younger siblings or nephews and nieces. Show them the beauty of the music we grew up with. Let's keep their legacy alive. Because these songs aren't just sounds. They are stories of our lives, of our dreams, and of hearts that were once broken but learned to rise again. Just kidding. So deep. And remember, fading is just a concept. It's just a word. For us who truly love music, there's no such thing as fading. There are only songs that become classics and memories that we will carry forever. So, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And comment below which band you miss the most and which song is close to your heart. Until the next video, stay beautiful and amazing. Mula!